Yeah, you're able to hear?
Yeah, much better, Prabhuji. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So, Mother Sita, as we see in the Valmiki Ramayana, there are many literatures which are compiled, some based upon Valmiki Maharshi's Ramayana and some have no base. So here we will try to focus on Mother Sita's overall characteristics, overall personality, which also touches upon her personality as a mother too, right? In the Valmiki Ramayana, we don't hear much about the upbringing of Luv Kush as it has been depicted in many TV serials and also some literatures. It's one sad part because how much Valmiki Maharshi can write because it already compiled those 24,000 verses. But we can recognize Mother Sita's character as a mother through the growth of Lava and Kusha, the way they were raised, right? In the Mahabharata, it is explained that somebody who gives you birth, just giving birth, such person is called as Dhatri because she is holding you. धारण करने वाली धात्री हो जाती है, right? One who holds you in the garbha. Then the second one is, one thing is holding you in the garbha, but how many people actually give birth, right? Now America has split into two parts in regards to the debate which is going on, right? Certain conservative judges are trying to repeal the law which was formed 50 years ago, where the abortion was legal. A huge debate is happening. So, if you can come out of your mother's womb and she gives you birth, Dhatri, then she becomes Janani, Janma dene wali. Yes, after giving birth, right? How many people have the capacity, space, time to actually nourish their child, right? Nourishing here is not about having no support. Yeah, you may have people to support you, but the main caregiver, whether it is mother's milk, whether it is mother's hug, whether it is mother's affection, right, where the child is seeking for, right, not baby care, where people see in the Western world and also in India when the child is as small as 3 months old, 4 months old, is placed in a daycare, right? So they have become Dhatri, they have become Janani, but have they become Amba? Amba means जो पालन और पोषण करते हैं. When there is palan and poshan, then she becomes Amba.
Nidivagani narari
Hello? Who is
avikari
that?
avarakaya.
So that is called as Amba. And then such Amba, mother who nourishes, the fourth phase of her contribution to the child's growth is that does she allow the child to grow according to the child's propensity, the passion, the tendency. If she recognizes her child's tendency, which could be extremely challenging, it may not be the family's tradition, right? Suddenly, in the house of a teacher, a great warrior is born. He is exhibiting the character of a soldier. Or in the house of a soldier, where they take great pride in being a soldier, a teacher's disposition is coming up. Or in the house of a doctor, for that matter, an artist is about to come. Huh? So, one who gives that facility for the child to walk his or her journey, such mother is called as Virasi. Virasi, right? Very interesting. The first is धारण करने वाली धात्री. Second is जन्म देने वाली जननी. Third is पालन पोषण करने वाली अम्बा. And fourth is वीरसी, right? Of course, from the child's perspective, this is the mother's responsibility. But from the child's perspective, even a mother gives birth to him or her, they should offer gratitude while understanding very clearly this was the limitation of my mother. She could become a janani to me. No, she couldn't give anything more than that. Or she was amma to me. She did nourishment for me, but nourishment sometimes became so protective that I did not turn out to be Veera. Veer Putra nahi ban paya. I could not make her Veerasi. It's a very interesting concept. And if you study carefully, when Lord Ramachandra, right, whether Sita had all this for or not, we can hear from one incident. When Lord Ramachandra was was preparing to go to the forest, right, the news was broken to Lord Ram that you have to go to the forest for 14 years and Bharat will take over the kingdom. And Ram was completely indifferent. He did not show any pain. Samachittatvam, right? It is not that he's a boring personality. Please do. Sometimes people present Lord Ram, oh, just see, Krishna is so cool, he's so charming, he's performing all kinds of pastimes. Do not underestimate Lord Ramachandra, Sri Ramachandra, the flavor of different rasas. Yes, the very Valmiki Ramayana, because it is focusing on Adarsha Netritva, it is focusing on ideal leadership, a king. Therefore, a king cannot be an entertainer. A king is not a sports person. He has a sportive nature, but not necessarily a sports person. A king, Raja means to entertain. Ranjati iti Raja. But what kind of entertainment? Not the entertainment where people are looking for, okay, I'll go and watch KGF, I'll go and watch RR, I'll go and watch this and that, right? That is, he's not that kind of entertainer. He's the entertainer of your Dharma, Artha, and Kama. Through Dharma, Artha, and Kama, you also develop your entertainment of eternal freedom, which is called as moksha. So naturally, Lord Ramachandra was very sober personality. Soberty was his foundational reality. But he had all the rasas, right? So therefore here, when Sri Ramchandra told Mother Sita, okay, I'm going to the forest and you stay back here. He said, you stay back here and take care of my, take care of good etiquettes. Do not glorify me in front of Bharat. Do not speak flattery about me in front of Kaikai, because that may not be good. It will hurt her, And then Mother Sita told Ramachandra Bhagwan, he said, look, all this etiquette has been given to me by my parents. Very clearly they have given me, I understand all these things. But the point is, I am not staying here in Ayodhya, I am coming with you. And the whole purpose where she present why she has to come with Sri Ramachandra is based upon her confidence in the valor of Sri Ram. And Ramchandra gave so much of discouraging word, speaking about the trouble coming from the sky, trouble coming from the earth, trouble coming from Rakshasas. She said, doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me because it has been predicted, it has been told in the assembly of my father that I will go to the forest twice. So therefore, you don't have a choice of not taking to me. And there at one point of time, Sita Maya chastised Ram of not being proper, manliness, for exhibiting proper manliness. Ram decided to take her. So the valor is there. Another valor we can see in Mother Sita, the best valor she shows. And therefore, naturally, those characters came into the psychology of Luv and Kush. The whole story of Luv Kush fighting, Lakshmana, Hanumanji, Bharat, Shatrughna, even Ramachandra, this is not there in the Valmiki Ramayana. But that does not make it less important as long as that character is presented, even though it is not there in Valmiki Ramayana, even the Loka Prabha, as long as it is not compromising with Valmiki Ramayana, can be accepted. So I'll not get into the details. So here, Sita Maya, such a brilliantly Valmiki Maharshi presents this character. One of the interesting part of the scriptures of Sanatan Dharma is harmonizing different emotions and different roles. The modern tendency is to create a conflict between the two roles. Right? If you're a daughter, then you undermine the role of your wife, of being a wife. Or if you are a son, you undermine the role of being a husband. So people, unfortunately, in the world which is black and white, choose to play certain role at the cost of other role. And therefore, when we study Sita's character, Sita Maya's character, Ram's character towards Mother Sita, it is all about how Ram treated Sita wrongly. Or it is all about how Sita is such, sickly submissive woman, not standing for her rights. How can you do this? I can't stand her. So many women talk about that, right? What they hear about Mother Sita is her breaking down when she got to know that she is separated from Sri Ramachandra for whatever time, doesn't matter. She separated because she had to be in the ashram of Valmiki Maharshi. Please read that part of Valmiki Ramayana. So beautifully reconciled. Valmiki Maharshi, through Mother Sita's disposition, how beautifully he reconciles between helplessness caused by this separation from Sri Ramachandra and empowerment caused by her role as a queen. It's so brilliant. Ashayak means helplessness. Helplessness, can it empower you? And can empowerment remove your helplessness? Can helplessness and empowerment be reconciled? Read Valmiki Ramayana. This is the beauty of Valmiki Ramayana, where while presenting one color, while making a painting, right, there is a color which is fading away and a new color is coming out, right? It's a brilliantly, it is how when it is fading and new color is basically distinctly visible, that is the beauty of artist. And Valmiki Maharshi does it so brilliantly. Imagine, she's happy. Lakshman is taking her to Valmiki Maharshi's ashram, without knowing. There is no certainty when Mother Sita is coming back to Ayodhya. And Ram was very, very serious when he gave this order to his brothers. He said, there is no discussion about it. Nobody speak anything about this. Just follow what I say. Take Mother Sita to Valmiki Maharshi's ashram, and only when you reach there, when you are about to see her off, after bringing her from the boat to Valmiki Maharshi's ashram, then you explain to her, imagine Lakshmana has to take this message. He has to be the representative of Sri Ramachandra. He has to bring Mother Sita and not reveal anything to her as they are sitting on the boat and flying towards Valmiki Maharshi's ashram. That must have been few days journey, and holding that secret in his heart. And we know Lakshman is very expressive. Whatever he sees and whatever he feels based upon that saying, he has an outburst. But here he cannot have an outburst. He has to hold back his tears, hold back his anger, hold back his pain. Still, he is performing his duty in such a way that Sita Devi does not have any clue of she has been sent to Valmiki Maharshi ashram to no certain time. This is the beauty of how Valmiki Maharshi presents amazing conflicting emotions being reconciled. And this character of Mother Sita, or any mother who's able to reconcile between a soft character, a pain, the helplessness, not hopelessness, असहायता और निराशावाद में अंतर होता है. There is a big difference between hopelessness and helplessness. Helplessness does not destroy your hopelessness, but hopelessness destroys your very substance only. Right? Sita is brought there. Lakshman brings her and reveals the message to Sita Devi. She is broken. She is broken to pieces. To such an extent, she tells Lakshman that there is no point in living. The only reason I would want to stay because Raghukul ka jo beej hai, the seed of Raghukul is growing in my belly. Right? Now her outburst of having no hope in life, there is nothing to look forward, is not her decision. It is her emotion caused by the separation from Sri Ramachandra. Every statement of Mother Sita should not be taken as a decision, but you have to see there are emotions, right? When a person is emotional, they make many statements. And that very Sita Devi, in that same space, as her tears are rolling from her eyes, she is experiencing helplessness. She is feeling separation. She is feeling pain that I was not told about this. And that very Mother Sita in the Valmiki Ramayana explains to Lakshman, that very Lakshman, giving him the confidence. She says, my dear Lakshman, you tell Raghunath that he should not be angry with the citizens of Ayodhya. They should be treated like his very own children. I stand by the decision taken by Sri Ramachandra for the sake of my subject. जो पत्नी थी, पत्नी है, she is still a wife, She is going through the pain of wife separation from her very dear husband, and in that very emotion, she is able to add this emotion of viryaras, virata, valor. You know, the helplessness did not give her hopelessness, rather, helplessness gave her the character of valor, toughness. Okay, I'm a queen, I will stand by him. The queenness did not destroy her, the wifehood, right? And the wifehood did not destroy her queenness. She was able to reconcile these two opposite character of confidence, responsibility as against helplessness and loss. Huh? Can such lady not give birth to the great valorous Love and Kush? Is it any difficulty in understanding this? So therefore, when we are bereft of understanding rasa tattva, rasa vichar, right? And rasa vichar is not only connected to the Supreme Lord. We have discussed, we have done seminar on this. Rasa is very part of human existence. Bharat Muni, when he compiled Rasa Shastra, he compiled Rasa Shastra for you and me. Of course, it is there in Krishna in the highest, in the spiritual degree. It is there in Sri Ramachandra. It is there in Lord Shiva. It is there in Lord Narsimdev. They all have that rasa vichar, that rasa tattva. But here, the beautiful combination which is exhibited by Mother Sita shows that she literally gave birth to somebody who were none other than Mother Sita in the form of her children. Right, therefore, Shakuntala in the Mahabharata, she explains this to Dushyanta Maharaj when Dushyant said, I don't believe it's your daughter. I don't believe it's your son. How do I know they're yours? They are my son. Anybody can come and tell it is my son. I'm giving this background of Dushyanta to explain the next point of Sri Ramachandra's dilemma. And then Shakuntala became extremely angry, helpless, but full of anger. But that helplessness and krodha gave rise to nyaya. And then she explains that a son is nothing but the very atma of the father. She said, simply touch him. You will realize who is he. Right? And the voice from the sky eventually spoke. This is your very son, accept him. Now please understand, okay, Lavakusha were raised under the great ashram and the great Kulapati Valmiki Maharshi. Bharadraj Rishi was his disciple. Bharadraj Rishi learned the entire 24,000 shlokas of Ramayana, and then Lavakusha also knew this. And when first time, very interesting, Valmiki Maharshi explains, after the birth of Lavakusha, after 12 years, Shatrughna came there. He saw these two babies, small babies. He was overwhelmed. And then he went back to Madhupuri because he was ruling in Mathura near Madhuban. After 12 years, he came back waiting to meet Lord Ramachandra. On the way to meeting Lord Ramachandra, he came to Valmiki Maharshi's ashram. And he was fascinated to hear them sing the entire Valmiki Ramayana, right? And then he came back to Ayodhya. He stayed 1 week, but did not mention anything about meeting Luv and Kush. It's quite interesting, right? Because these brothers did not interfere for whatever reason. We'll get to understand that he did not speak there. And meanwhile, Sri Ramachandra was planning for the Ashwamedha Yajna, I think on the recommendation of Bharat, and Valmiki Maharshi was also invited. When Valmiki Maharshi was invited, he gave the instruction to Luv Kush to recite the Valmiki Ramayana in different parts of Ayodhya. Valmiki, this not Ayodhya, it happened in Naimisharanya. The Ashwamedha Yajna happened in Naimisharanya. So they came around, and eventually, when the news was brought to Sri Ramachandra, he decided to hear from them his own glories. And Valmiki Maharshi instructed them how to recite, how many sargas they should recite every day, what chandasu they should use, how to recite. He said, when you are reciting this, do not offend the king, because they knew this is Ramachandra, right? उनका ही story बता रहे ना, they are going to speak their stories. He said, don't offend them and don't charge anything from anybody. Why do we need any money? Because we live in the forest. Because the exchange was goods. It was full of limitless prosperity. So the question of money, as it is very much the commodity for relationship, that they didn't need because there was limitless natural prosperity. He said, you don't ask anything, don't take anything. And he told them to take certain fruits which will enhance their speaking skills. And there was actually Veena Vadan while they would recite. And they recited every day 20 sarga. Sri Ramachandra went totally mad listening to their stories. In fact, when Shatrughna had come and heard, he had fainted listening to them. Imagine how they must have. Even if that song, if you hear, Hum Katha Sunate Ram Charan Chan, Gunagana ki, right? People have cried, and this is simply an acting. Imagine that being real. Sri Ramachandra was sitting and listening on his asan with great restraint. He comes down without making any noise, become part of the crowd. He is maddened by the recitation, the content, the style, the background, the beauty of the children. Right? Many people said, oh, these are Pratibimba of Sri Ramachandra. If that Jata is not there, there is no difference. Everybody knew. Right? And when it was revealed to Sri Ramachandra that these two sons, these two boys, are none other than his son. Imagine these boys were raised by their mother so beautifully. As I said, by their character, you can understand the valor, the stability, the skill, the devotion was just oozing out of their entire existence. Now, Sri Ramchandra heard, and Valmiki Maharshi took a vow that I never speak lie. I have never spoken lie. In the name of my Kula, I proclaim that these two children are none other than your sons. But you know what? Sri Ramachandra couldn't jump out of the Vyasasana and go and hug him. I was explaining to you the story of Dushyanta. Dushyanta knew that Shakuntala was his wife, but that was only known to him and her and Kanva Maharshi. And therefore, when she came from nowhere, accepting her without testing her will only minimize her position and minimize the position of a king. And when the king loses his position of respect, he cannot contribute into the growth of his people. These subtle qualities, this subtle understanding, unfortunately, people don't look into this. Are, how can Ram do this? How can he ask Mother Sita? Right? Then Sri Ramachandra requested Mother Sita to prove her purity. Is it for him? In the Agni Pariksha Kand, he said to Mother Sita, "You are like a noonday sun." It was not for me, it was for the world to understand your purity. But unfortunately, the Praja of Ayodhya glorified all the exploits of Sri Ramachandra, but some other they got stuck with Sita's story. And this was the time for Mother Sita to prove. And Sri Ramachandra had to make this most painful request, not for himself. That is the pattern, that is the system, that is the etiquette. And what happened to Mother Sita? Now, this is a very interesting principle where Valmiki Maharshi has been extremely sensitive in presenting Valmiki Ramayana. You know, whenever we read any book, especially the Dharma Shastras, we have to understand what is the psychology of the characters, what is the psychology of the author, what is the psychology of the flow of that plot. इस प्लॉट का क्या मानसिकता है, the characters who are playing different role, what is their mansikta, that is very important to understand. And based upon that, these personalities appear from different sphere. Now Mother Sita appeared from Bhumi, right? Bhumi, while giving us in abundance, limitless prosperity she provides. But there is one aspect of Bhumi. Bhumi is not like the sky. Sky represents limitlessness, and Bhumi represents certain limitation. So we live in the world surrounded by limitless hope. ऊपर दिखने पर, when we look up, there is space, there is limitless ideas, imagination, ingenuity, creativity. But the ground where we are standing, that shows limitation, boundary, right? I cannot fly like even a crow going from the Amritsar border to Pakistan border. A crow can fly and nobody stops, but I cannot. I'll be shot dead. Why? Because there are certain limitations. One may say this is all artificial, man-made limitation. No, they are there since time and immemorial. The concept of Rashtra is as eternal as a creation. So there is a limitation. Crossing the border, going from one place to another place. Like if you study the Valmiki Ramayana, Ayodhya means it was such a Durga nobody could conquer. Lanka means no outside, even a ant could not go there. So that is how people maintain, protect their borders. Those who talk about borderless countries, they live in a guarded society, so-called elitist, right? So therefore, Sri Ramachandra basically made this request, and Mother Sita had done enough pastime in this earthly planet. As being Sita in this world was not very easy, because the role is all about limitless space, all about responsibility. And therefore, Valmiki Maharshi, when he defines the marriage of Mother Sita and Ramachandra, Sri Ramachandra, he couldn't write. They hardly spent any years staying together. His heart did not agree for that. Therefore, he says they spent many months together. Now when you call it as बड़े बहुत दिन मतलब साल के दृष्टि से बहुत कम. From the year perspective, very less. From the days perspective, very large. From the months perspective, very large. Right? So therefore, Mother Sita wanted to prove her credibility, to stop everybody from speaking anything ill about more than herself. They will not speak ill about Sri Ramachandra, right? Excepting Sita Maya for going out away from her husband. Of course, she was kidnapped. So she wanted to shut them down. But the choice she made, just like typical Valmiki Ramayana, she put our mother Bhumi into a great dilemma. A great dilemma she put. She said, "Oh, my dear mother Bhumi Devi, if I'm completely pure, that my mind has never wavered from anything other than, the great, the amazing personality Sri Ramachandra, you take me in, hmm, for the sake of her praja, for the sake of her husband's credibility, for the sake of empowering her children to be the next king, you could not do better than this." For her, it was very clear, no more any allegation. But for Ramachandra, it was disastrous. He never expected this. But the more painful was for Mother Bhumi. She wants Sita Ram to be together. But the condition which Mother Sita placed in front of Mother Bhumi is her credibility. Her credibility, if it is proven, then only she can be staying with Sri Ramachandra. But the way she put herself in proving her credibility, it is sure shot they will be separated. You want to be part in Sri Ramachandra's Leela, dealing with this kind of conflicts, right? People imagine for magic to happen. Array, by the grace of God, by the grace of Lord Nursing Dev, right? People have so many stories of Lord Nursing Dev having a miracle to them. The real miracle of life is not experiencing some miracle. The real miracle of life is reconciling between two opposite conflicting emotions. And Mother Bhumi had no other choice, or she chose to be cruel to Sri Ramachandra in regards to separation, but greatly setting or settling forever the accusation against Sri Ramachandra of accepting someone who stayed in somebody else's house. She split and she appeared and took Sita back to her fold so that her limitation of being with Sri Ram will be over and she will ever reside with Sri Ramachandra in her deity form. And please read Valmiki Ramayana for those who blame the character of Lord Sri Ramachandra. What an outburst he went through. The separation of Mother Sita caused him the combination of all the rasas, the valor, the raudra, the madhurya, karuna, right? Vibhatsya, krodha, the Rudra Shakti appeared in him. And how beautifully Valmiki Maharshi describes. And then eventually, the Lord of Destiny, I think Brahmaji, stopped him, as far as I understand. And Lord Sri Ramachandra became very sober. And from then onwards, there was no question of anybody making any noise because Sita Devi stayed with him eternally in the form of her beautiful deity. The very Supreme Lord, Sri Ramachandra, who sent Mother Sita to the forest, not for himself, for the sake of his praja, in the presence of all the prajas, he worshipped her. She became his eternal consort, right? And she would appear because she's always there with him. In this way, Mother Sita Devi exhibits her amazing quality, right? So therefore, having the glimpse of Lavakusha, having the certain events of Mother Sita's life, we can understand that she was a profound Dhatri, profound Janani, amazing Amba, and she was Veerasi. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. It was a blessing to hear about the glories of Mother Sita and a great example for us to understand how to reconcile the dualities of life which we experience. Prabhuji, we will have questions on chat, so if you could uh, go through them and select the ones you would like to answer.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is sorry. This is not like mathematics. What is working here? Did Shatrugna know Lord's course? Yes, he knew that. Sita is the daughter of Mother Earth. You know. So here in the avatar, Earth, now Mother Earth, she came from Mother Earth. Not necessarily, do not see it from like she's the biological daughter of Mother Earth. She appeared from the Mother Earth from that perspective. Therefore, don't apply this kind of logic. Which Ramayana? Of course, for us to read Ramayana is always Valmiki Maharshi's Ramayana. Once you have clear picture of Valmiki Maharshi's Ramayana, the philosophy, the psychology of Valmiki Ramayana, then we can venture into studying other great teachers, their poetry, whether it is Raghuvamsha by Kalidas, whether it is Kamba Ramayana by Kamba, whether it is Ramcharitmanas by Tulsidas, or it is certain grammatical Ramayana are also there. Of course, not the Ramayana of Devadat Patnaik for sure. Yeah, the lectures are there in Radha Gopinath RG Media. When they met Lord Ramachandra, it says there exactly. He met them over maybe 12, 13 years they were old because Shatrugna met them after 12 years. How does one inculcate the quality of reconciling reality in ourselves and our children? Understanding this, the principle of rasa tattva, is very foundational thing. One is understanding, and second, giving them practical experience of divinity, where they see, okay, the parents are having some difficulty in dealing with each other, but at the same time, they are able to reconcile. After Swayamvar, how much time period Sita Navami gave? Very less, not more than 2 to 3 years. Modern women, not all women, not necessarily modern women. Modern women consider children as an obstruction in their career, so they don't want more than one child. Why such thought process come up in women? Other day I was in some discussion dealing with something where somebody mentioned that it is seen amongst one child they have a greater divorce rate. Hmm? This is not I am saying. Just 2 days back somebody was making, I think it was in IIT Mumbai. There we had gone for some program, so they were discussing this because when there is only one child, again then the whole Pandorum box will be open. What do you know about having more than one children? But the principle is that one child gets too much of attention from the parents. Rather than becoming Amba, the mother becoming Ma, they become almost like the Samba, right? Krishna had a son also, and he was very attached to Jambavati, and we know what he did, right? So it's a very symbolic to understand this principle. So therefore, this requires, they have given this narrative, so child without child is better, or profession, this and that. Reconciling between their growth as a person having that passion to do something and also fulfilling their role as a mother is possible. Lava and Kush to our Lord's expansion are there to Vishnu Tattvas. One of the interesting part is in Ramayana, Valmiki Maharshi does not dwell so much on bringing again and again the concept of Vishnu Tattva in Sri Ram also. He presents him as a leader, right? So therefore, Lava and Kusha, they are not Vishnu Tattvas. These four are Vishnu Tattvas. Who they were in their eternal lila, I have no clue, not read anywhere because Valmiki doesn't give it. Yeah, Gita Press is the best for you to read. There are no temple. I have not seen any temple of Luv Kush. How can we identify whether we are reconciling the emotion and not getting swayed in one of the identities or emotions? That is what the art of yoga is. Working on this understanding. Therefore, our great rishis compiled this literature like Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavatam, and Upanishad to make us not to take sides of any emotion. Okay, we will stop here if you have no questions. Thank you once again for joining with this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. We meet next Tuesday to discuss about karma and astrological predictions as we celebrate Narad Jayanti. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Hare
much.
Krishna.